Please can I offer my sincerest apologies. Do you know every speaker's absolute worst nightmare? We realised about an hour and a half ago that when we were doing the cleanup of our events and everything in the background a few weeks ago, we accidentally set the link for this event today to completed, and therefore it puts it into an archive. So this morning we have been rushing around with incredible support from digital leaders and for my team to get this up and running so that we could record the session. And it may be that some of you are able to join us live because digital leaders have been sending the link out, which has been amazing. So we can't thank digital leaders enough. So for anybody who's then watching it as a recording afterwards because they couldn't get in this morning, I do apologise. It's that nightmare. So welcome. Now I've got that apology out of the way. Could I please ask that you put in the chat where you're from, what organisation you're from, and what part of the country, and maybe what you're interested in community mapping. And while you're doing that, I'm going to introduce you to my co-host, who is Amber. And Amber is one of my amazing support team because I have dyslexia. I also have ADHD and autism as well, which is not always the best combination of things to have. And so Amber will keep an eye on the questions and the comments and everything in the sidebar, and she'll read those to me. So that's fantastic. And in a minute, she's going to put her screen down. So, right, so I can see that Rachel is from Exmouth, and I'm going to be totally honest and upfront. Rachel is one of our Kickstart trainees. So I can see that we've got a number of people who are actually in here. So it would be wonderful if you could just introduce yourselves in the chat. That would be fantastic. The chat is over to the right. Sorry, that's that dyslexic part of me. I was having to look at my wrists to work out which was left and right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and start giving you the presentation. Please, at any stage within this air meet, you can actually raise your hand and ask to come to the stage if you've got a question that you want to ask. Or you can ask a question in the chat and Amber will keep an eye on that. So fantastic. We've got Fiona from Dorset. We've got, Isla's in Dorset as well, and she's with us. And oh gosh, right, Alexandra, how do I say, is it Renfrewshire? Is that the right? I hope I've said that right. And then Mariana's in Dawlish with us. Oh, yep, good. Thank you ever so much. Right, I did actually read that. Right, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to stop waffling. It really has been one of those mornings where you couldn't have anything else go wrong when we realised that the wrong link had been sent out. And, well, it wasn't the wrong link. We'd accidentally set the event to completed. Yeah, everybody's nightmare. So I'm Jackie King. And I'm actually the founder of If Everyone Cares, and that we're the creators of aDoddle.org, which is community mapping. And it's the UK's first growing network of connected area-based community maps. And it's about working together to connect people and communities, literally one click at a time. So now I've got to make sure I'm clicking on the right screen and where I've got to. Oh. Right, too. So you've all already done this, so I'm going to go past this. But if there's a specific reason as to why you've joined us today, please do feel free to put that in the chat, and Amber will interrupt me at any stage to ask me if there are things that I can cover for you. So housekeeping, this is being recorded. Health and safety, as it's a remote event, that is nothing that we can take care of at your end, but there are no fire alarms due to come out here. And if you want water or a drink, then I hope you've got one with you. This is Air Meet, and at the end of the event, you are welcome to come out of the event and go on to, there are networking tables. And if you've got any other questions, we can go there and answer those for you. At the end of this session, before we complete it, there is a chance for Q&A, but you can also ask questions during it. Please do. And there will be contact details at the end, and Amber will put my personal email address in the chat for you. So We live in a digital world where we can find everything at the touch of a button, or do we? If you think about it, if you go to Google or to any of the other search engines, you only get results based on the wording that you put in there. And if you make a spelling mistake or something like that, you may not find the results of the things that you're looking for. And that can happen with anything. But if you think that you're in a community and you're either looking for help or where to volunteer or something like that, if you can't find those things, you can't be more connected and more invested in your community. So to tell you a little bit about who we are, why we started or why we started doing this and the what. Back in 2010, I was actually a trainer helping people who'd been out of work long term due to illness and disability to rediscover their confidence and self-esteem so they could go back into work. And I loved it. And then one day, one of my managers told me that a number of my clients were no-hopers and they couldn't come in anymore. And that was devastating because nobody is a no-hoper. And the majority of the people that I met, had they been able to find help and support that existed in their local communities, their situation may not have got to crisis point. And many of my clients had either lost homes, families had broken up, a few had tried to take their own life. The stories were enough to stop me from sleeping at night. And I was very privileged at that time that I had a little bit of savings and my first grandchild was due. And so I decided I would quit my job and I would try to find a way to help people to find the help and support that existed within their communities. Because if you can go to Google Maps and find a hotel or restaurant virtually anywhere in the world and then make an informed decision, why can't you do that with what exists in your own community? So back in 2012, I, along with two people who had been my clients with the job that I'd done, we entered the Sir Richard Branson and Virgin Unite Global Challenge to Screw Business as Usual with the idea of creating an interactive community map. And our idea over a 4-month period of time was voted third by the public from ideas from around the world. And we had people contacting us from other countries saying, when you've done this in the UK, please, we want it in our country as well. So that's sort of where we started. So to give you a few figures, did you know that disconnected communities are said to cost the UK £32 billion a year? Poverty, and that's from a report that was commissioned by the Eden Project Communities. Poverty, another 78 billion. Now, each of those pounds is connected to somebody's life in some shape or form, and also to their family members' lives and their friends' lives, because it has a knock-on effect for everybody. There's a ripple effect. There are over 150,000 charities registered across the UK. Yet how do people find them? And there are hundreds of thousands of community groups and organisations, including and opportunities for people, including things around sustainability, reduce, reuse, recycle, but also, reducing isolation. There are at the moment increased levels of suicide, loneliness, poverty, and that isolation. And if people were empowered to find help and support themselves rather than needing to go to the doctors so much or to get antidepressants, they don't necessarily need those. There is no judgment in there whatsoever. But actually, if they're empowered to find help and support at an earlier stage or just a group to connect with so it reduces their isolation, those figures can come down. So that's a little bit of the background, and this was just something we put together because isolation is really huge. And we love this quote from Jo Cox, that she didn't want to live in a country where thousands of people are living lonely lives, forgotten by the rest of us. And actually, they're not really forgotten by the rest of us because there are so many amazing charities, community groups and organisations that provide opportunities that people just aren't able to discover at the moment. So how did we do what we did? We started with simple conversations and we really listened. There is not one element of the work that we have done that has been built and developed because we just thought we wanted to do it. Every single element has been built and developed based on really listening. What did the people on the ground feel? Why did they struggle? What were the pain points? What were the barriers to them finding help and support? And we'll talk through some of those that we discovered in a while. So we literally kept iterating and listening and then doing another cycle. And then when the pandemic came, we'd already spent 2 years working on seeing how we could do some area-based maps, not just a UK one, wide one. And we decided at that stage we needed to rebuild. So we rebuilt the whole back end of our platform so that we could then create maps for any area in the UK. Literally, somebody could come to me, and 2 hours later, if I've got 2 hours free, we could have an area-based community map up for them that they could start inviting organisations to create their own profiles. And I'll tell you a bit more about why we do it that way in a minute. So we literally rebuilt everything, and our maps can be dropped into any website. They can be done for any niche. So you could just focus on the environment or food aid or food banks or mental health, or you can cover an area or a particular area, and they are all connected. So that if you were on a map down in Cornwall and you had a relative in Scotland, you could move the map up to Scotland, refresh it, and you would see the results there as well. So that's aDoddle. So it's multiple communities, multiple benefits, and there's the potential of huge impact. So there was me, I was trying to click. So some of the things that we've learned: keep it lean, keep it simple. We did lots of research with organisations who had tried doing community mapping or directories and had failed, in their own words. They'd lost their funding, everything that they'd done then went by the wayside because the information was out of date. So we learned keep it lean, which is why we invite organisations to create their own profiles. And every profile is like a miniature website. So actually, organisations can use their profile instead of a website. So for smaller organisations that maybe only have a Facebook page or Twitter or something like that, they can utilise it. And it's a miniature website. So keep it lean, keep a standard format. So one of the things we heard in the research was people who were maybe struggling with a crisis, and they were really stressed, and they would go, but I might find a website and then I don't know where to find the information on it, when they're open, how to get in contact with them. So every profile is in a standard format. They can brand it partially to themselves with one main key color, with a header image. So they can actually make it look more like their organisation. It's not all about aDoddle. And we actually even automatically hide our header so that what people see is about the organisation only. It's not about aDoddle. It's not about us. It's about the organisations. And we also learned that filters are not always helpful. So many of the directories that exist, to get any result, somebody has to go in and they have to say that they're looking for this type of thing or this type of thing. And then the results that they're shown are what the system thinks they might want or need. And actually, those filters can stop people from finding what it is they do need, because it might just be a knit and natter group. It might be so that they can connect with other people. It might be a mindfulness group. It might be the local history group, or it might be something more that they want support because, just as an example of an organisation, Suited and Booted, amazing organisation, supports men who are unemployed and actually helps them with interview skills and then provides them with clothes so that they can go to their interview. Everybody's journey is unique to them. So filters are not always beneficial. The other key thing was that information goes out of date, and people said to us, we might find something and then we realise when we've got there and we've got our hope up that actually that project no longer works. It's not there anymore. We have not seen anybody else use this. It doesn't mean that other people aren't. But we've introduced a unique traffic light system. So when you are on the aDoddle community maps, any pinpoint that is green means it's been updated in the last 6 months. If it's amber, it's between 6 months and 12 months. If it's red, it's over 12 months. And actually, in the last 3 weeks, we've just introduced a grey one. That means it's over 2 years. Now, I'll be honest, at the moment, we've got more red and more grey pinpoints than we would like on the maps, partly because we're just doing a big campaign to get them all updated at the moment, but partly because during the pandemic, we didn't put a huge pressure on organisations. We knew that they had their own battles to be able to provide the help and support within communities. And now that things are starting to open up again, we're just starting to go through and we're connecting with organisations on virtually a one-by-one basis to check that everything's all right and how can we support them. We also discovered that there are 5 key things that anybody in a community wanted to know, whether they need help, they want to help, whether they're an organisation that wants to connect with another organisation, or business that wants to support an organisation. They wanted to know about the organisation, who they help, how they help, the difference it makes, the help they need, and how to get in contact with them. And actually, they wanted, if possible, more than one contact option. So if you've got a Facebook page or a Twitter page or something like that, people said to us they would actually like to go on and see how that organisation interacts with people, to get a feeling of whether or not it was one that, they wanted to support or volunteer for or whatever else. So community mapping is about empowering people, helping them to have choice, to see their options open them, helping them to find volunteering opportunities, helping to reduce isolation. And actually, it's about supporting them on their own personal journey for whatever reason it is they're looking for community organisations or opportunities. So if you see the pictures on the left, I'm doing my left and right again. You see the pictures on the left of each of them. When you can't see what the whole picture is, it's really hard to make a choice and a decision. But when you can see what it is, it's much easier. So therefore, community mapping is about helping to give people more of the whole picture of what's out there and what's available to them, stopping it from being potluck as to whether they find the organisations that could help them or support them or give them an opportunity for volunteering, and starting to join the dots within communities. We realised we started this because of helping people who were in crisis, but we very quickly realised that exactly the same data, so the same information on all of those profiles, help somebody whether they're struggling with isolation, crisis, whether they're looking for volunteering, whether they're wanting to collaborate with other organisations for social prescribing, for resource mapping, for key decision makers, to be able to see what exists in their communities already, where there might be duplication, and actually where there may be gaps for need. So it's actually good, for police, National Health Service, local councils. So as we said, UK's first network of connected community maps, helping people to find, give, collaborate, connect and support. I probably should have taken that slide out. There you are, because I'm repeating myself. UK is made up of 12 main regions, and we've identified just over 400 key areas, and that's our goal, is to get a map for at least those areas, and we're at 94 already, as well as a number of partner maps that we do with organisations. So if you're a local charity, they just have to add their details once, and then they get a reminder email every 6 months to go in and check it's up to date and click save so their pinpoint stays green. They also have the ability to duplicate a profile. So say they're actually, I'm just thinking about, I'm going to say Trussell Trust. They've got food banks, that are across the country, and they're run by different organisations, but they're part of the Trussell Trust. But imagine if they've got one, they could actually duplicate that profile just by uploading a CSV file with the first part or the whole part of a postcode. Now, there's another benefit to that as well. So say Trussell Trust wanted to maintain the ability to manage those, so that if they knew that one had closed down, they could remove it. We've also got a system in the back end that they can allocate different people to be able to modify those as well. And so they can give permissions, but they still maintain that information there. There's a lot more to it. It's a little bit more complex than that, but there's some really good things. I've just seen Amber's popped up. I'm wondering, Amber, have you got a question there?
I do indeed. Yep. Tom Penny in the chat has asked, how do people who want help or need help get matched to resources that might fit with their needs or wants?
At the moment, Tom, what it's about is, so aDoddle community mapping. So we don't actually do the matching at all. It's not our area of expertise. We'd actually love to collaborate with somebody in the future, maybe an organisation that does that, because we think there's a really good piece there. At the moment, it's for people, whoever it is who's looking for that, to go and find organisations. And then there's actually a get in touch button on every profile, so they can connect with the organisation directly and find out more information, so they can ask for that. They can even, on that little get in touch button, they can even say that it's about volunteering. They can choose a little tick box about what it's about. And they can even put down how many hours they might have a week or month or whatever else, so that they can give an idea. Or they can choose to wait till they hear more about it. I think it's definitely an area that could be developed. And actually, I'd love to have conversations with anybody who think that there's an element of something that we can do in development, because we're constantly doing that. And we've recently been in a couple of conversations with Department for Culture, Media and Sport, and we gave some feedback ready for their vision for volunteering, the 10-year plan. And we've said that we think that community mapping is a key part of that, and potentially even volunteering passports, because that might help match people and organisations as well. So does that answer it? If Tom's got anything else, Tom, feel free, put in more and ask me more if you want to. And you can always raise your hand and come to the stage. And just to let you know, if you come to the stage, it's being recorded. That is the one part that you would be shown on, okay?
Brilliant. Thank you.
So do feel free. Thanks, Amber. So there are multiple access points to our maps because of the fact that they're all connected. We do have the ability to do maps for organisations who say want internal ones and don't want all the information to be connected and public. So if it was social prescribing and they wanted it for an internal team, we have the ability to do that as well. They can be dropped into any existing website, or it can be a website that we can do, or one of our ones, and they can choose which data gets shown. So it could be they wanted to just show environmental, food aid and something else. They can choose one category, two categories, three categories, or whichever. Or they can choose to only show the organisations that have added to the map through their own link. So there's another possibility there. So that's there. So just thought I'd break it up every now and again with just a quick quote. But communities are stronger when they work together. And actually, every organisation is a strand of what helps make a community great. Every volunteer is one of those strands. Every person who needs help and support is a really important part of the community. Let's help people not to be left out. So I'm going to take a breath. So the power of communities. The power of communities is immense. Okay. So every profile is like a miniature website. They can semi-brand them. There's a standard profile layout. They can use it in place of a website if they want, which actually means they don't need to have a volunteer for doing their website. They don't have to pay hosting costs or anything like that. It's all free for community organisations, charities, to create their own profile and for them to share their 5 key things. The maps can be a map out of the box. So the maps can be added. So this is an example for the Devon Local Nature Partnership. And as you can see there are some green pinpoints on there and some amber ones. When they click on a pinpoint, it brings up a little box like this. And then you click on this green bit here and it takes you to the full profile. So that's sort of a bit of the maps. I'll show you another one. This is another one we did with an organisation. And this was the Plymouth Food Access Network. And so they asked the food access organisations in the area to create a profile. In fact, they even helped them with doing that. And we can help at times as well if we've got the man hours available. They also did a really interesting piece that we worked on with them. They wanted to track how many meals were being given out each month. And so we actually linked it then with a form that only they had access to, not us. We linked it with a form so that organisations could track. They'd given out X number of food parcels that covered X number of days for X number of meals. And that was broken down into the number of adults and the number of children. And it was really interesting for them to be able to start collecting that data through utilising both aDoddle and having those organisations on them, and then having a password protected form that organisations could fill in. So actually there's a really interesting piece of work that could also be developed around collecting data for communities as well. The work that we're doing with community mapping is very much in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And actually it matches with a number of these on here. And we'd be really interested in working with some organisations. We're working with a council at the moment that's just had one pilot map that we're working on with them, and they've just asked for a second one so that they can show the environmental projects in the area. Right, what's the next slide? Oh, me and my quotes again. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. So if you can bring this information together, it is not only benefiting the people and the communities, it's enabling people to be more involved and more connected with their community. It's about making stronger, more resilient communities. And we're just the tech that helps this to happen. It is the people and the organisations within the communities that are the vital ones. Just to give you an example, for say, I don't know whether there's anybody from local councils here. We did some research as to what's the average cost of somebody who's unemployed over 25. And we worked out, what was the cost to local councils, what was the cost, local benefits, things like that. And if they weren't in work, what weren't they then paying in tax and national insurance and everything else? And the average is £15,401 per person per year who is unemployed over 25. So that's just one person. Now, we said earlier that we'd identified just over 400 areas that we want to have maps in. Imagine if for each of those areas, one person a year, just one person a year who was unemployed, found the help and support that helped them move back into work. So times that by the 400, you're suddenly talking about £6.1 million. Okay. It wouldn't be out of order to think 10 per area. You're suddenly talking about 61 million. But actually, if you think about it, with everything that's been going on and the cost it has been to everybody, that money doesn't even really exist. So it's more about the benefit that it makes to people's lives. That is somebody's life. And if somebody is back in work, suddenly they're able to spend money in their community. They're able to do things with their family and everything else. So we're nearly there, promise. It's really aDoddle to get involved. Organisations can add a profile. You could help spread the word. You could become a map partner. You could do a pilot map with us in an area. You could be a partner organisation that has great contacts in your community, and we could set up a map for your community. And then if you help get the word out, if you're a business, you could sponsor a map. Grant funders, as a really simple thing that cost you nothing and was just one added line in your application forms. Basically, just put in that part of the grant application process is that organisations have a green profile on aDoddle. Doesn't cost you anything. They put their profiles up there. You're helping them to get their word out there more, even if they're not successful with getting funding with you. So you're helping to raise their profile for them. And actually, then it's good for the communities as well. So thank you, and any questions, and then let's leave. This is my contact details, but Amber will put my contact in there. And then there's one last slide. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And partnerships are where two or more organisations work together, take the best of what they do, know or have access to, and join forces to create exponential impact. There you are. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a while. And are there any other questions? Amber's nodding. Hello, Amber.
Hello. So yeah, we've got Tom again, who asked about the matching the resources to the people's wants and needs. He did say he might have to shoot off. He's got another meeting at 11. But he did put another thing in by saying that he might be able to help with the matching. If you can profile the resources and you can match them to the profiled needs, that helps narrow it down a bit. And then he put, I love what you're doing here. It's really exciting and has huge potential value. I've been working on something like this with the Welsh Government in ASC. I've got to dash to another meeting at 11, so I'll contact Jackie or Amber later to tell you.
Fantastic. And this is the partnerships and collaboration. We are hugely about collaboration. We know we cannot do this on our own. We saw that there was a need. We saw that it wasn't being met or managed in a way that was being effective for everybody at every level within a community. And so we've got to the stage where these partnerships are vital, because it doesn't matter how great the tech is that's behind it. And actually our tech is really good. I'm really proud of our tech. It's taken me quite a while to be able to say that out loud, because I'm always a little bit embarrassed. But every element's being built based on people and communities. But there's the potential then to have the impact within those communities and key decision makers. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to speaking with Tom. Amber, are there any? Yep, cool.
Yeah, sorry, got another one. Alexandra Mackey says, do you ever reach out to the users who search your site to find out how they found the experience or how they've been doing since their search? A case study at all?
We've got verbal case studies from conversations that I've had with people. And actually, Amber, may I have permission to put you on the spot from when you first joined working with us? And would you be happy to share your story for yourself?
Yeah, I'll try and kind of round it up briefly. My just as I was starting to work with aDoddle, my lovely nan passed away and left behind my granddad, bless him. And obviously with any sort of loss like that, you have the family members left behind who's struggling with the grief and knowing what to do with themselves. So because of the work that we was doing with aDoddle, and obviously knowing Jackie, she said, why don't you use aDoddle for what it's worth and what it's there for, and search the platform for things that could help your granddad. So we did, and we found him a lovely memory cafe, because at this point he was also in the process of getting diagnosed for dementia. So we took him to a lovely memory cafe. He obviously socialised. We saw his smile come back again. He looked forward to it for the next week. And then from there, we found U3A, the University of the Third Age, which had plenty more groups, history groups, plant and gardening groups for him to go to. And yeah, long story short, he's now got 3 or 4 groups a week to go to. He's got so many more friends, more connections. In turn, it's given my mum, his carer, a bit of respite. It's just been a really positive experience, and we're very grateful for aDoddle, and we wouldn't have found it without Jackie's lovely platform that she's created.
So I hope that that's a really good case study, and it's a really honest one. It was just, it just came up. I work on aDoddle all the time, and I'd heard Amber saying the struggles they were having, and one day I just thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe I haven't said to Amber, why don't you use aDoddle? I get so stuck in it. Another one that I can give you, well, I can give you a couple actually. So one was somebody I was talking to who was struggling with having suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And their reaction was that actually what it did in those dark hours, once they realised aDoddle was there, was they could actually go on aDoddle and see that there were organisations out there that were happy to support. And actually just knowing that there was somebody out there, even if they never got in contact with them, was enough to give them the strength, or to give a little bit of light that gave them the next minute, the next 5 minutes, the next half an hour to get through that stage. And to me, that was really, I still get a bit choked by it now, because there are people that we are never going to know, that we are never going to meet. And, I think that's where the power of it comes in, because sometimes people may not even get in contact with the organisation. But this is where that story, tell the story of who you help, how you help, the difference you make, the help you need. Get people invested in why you're doing what you're doing, so that if they need the help, they feel they're welcome. But if they want to help you or support you, they know that they are going to get just as much back, because they're going to be helping to make a difference as well. Then another example is somebody who was going through they struggled with going out. I'm not going to give too much of the detail actually, because I've been given permission to share it, but I just feel, there's an element. They struggled with going out. They didn't really like being around people at all. They were isolated, they were unemployed, and they found the Blue Cross cats. Okay, cool. So we were actually asked by one organisation why we had organisations like that on there, because they didn't think it was valid. Well, this will knock that out of the park, because they are. So this person went to volunteer for them, to sit in the cages with the cats, to keep the cats acclimatised to human contact. When they were sat in the cages, they got to sit next to somebody else who was in a cage next. And then they slowly started talking to each other. And then they went out for a coffee. And then they went out for a walk. And the last time I spoke to this person was actually back in full-time work. Okay. Now, if they had gone through filters saying they were struggling with depression and isolation and whatever else, would they ever have found the Blue Cross cats to go to? They possibly wouldn't have. We do not know what somebody wants. So yes, we do have filters on our map. We also have keywords, but we actually advise people maybe not to use them, or to use them sparingly. So we put them because people are used to them, but actually they're not always the thing that somebody wants. So Amber, are there any other questions in there?
Yeah,
I'm so aware the time's going.
2 more for now, and I'll go back to Alexandra, who asked about the case studies, and I've got one from Tom, which might lead on to another conversation.
Yeah.
So, Alexandra said, working for a local authority, I can see how this would benefit our residents who are struggling. It would also benefit local organisations who are struggling to get the word out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've got another one coming then as well, just as I was saying that, but...
Oh, hang on, Amber. We lost you for a second. Can you start the question again about going back to Tom? Cool.
Yeah, so Tom Hindmarch, hopefully I'm saying that right, Tom. He put, in terms of actually mapping voluntary organisations, is this something you help with? I often find that they are difficult to find and have minimal online presence, etc.
We are very lucky at this moment in time. We actually have 6 Kickstart trainees with us. So 2 finished sadly in 2 months. Oh my goodness, I'm gutted already. And while we've got the Kickstart trainees, there are ones that are helping organisations to create their profiles. We've got another amazing trainee who is helping organisations to make their header images and things like that. And we've got another amazing trainee who is helping to connect and contact with the organisations and everything else. And so if ones have maybe got the ones that are on there already and maybe gone amber and whatever, and then we've got another amazing trainee. So when an organisation has got a complete profile that is green, that has the header image and everything else, we share about them for free through our social media channels. So we've got another trainee who sets up all of those posts, and we even do featured profiles of the week and things like that. So if there's an awareness day that a profile matches, we ask organizations to maybe let us know so that we can put them in, but otherwise we choose organizations. We do all sorts of things to help raise awareness of these organizations within communities. So at the moment we can do a certain amount of helping. We are focusing on 4 key areas at the moment, but only because we've got a business sponsor in one area, we've got a council in another area that's supporting us, we've got another business sponsor for 2 other areas. So they're helping us because we actually run on a very minimal budget at this moment in time. However, we are a passionate, dedicated team. We've been named on Digital Leaders 100 list for potential social impact, and we've had some awards, other awards for the work that we've done and everything else. So just because we're relatively small and we have a relatively small budget, please don't underestimate the power of what we've managed to create. So if we can help, if you're a council that would like to, to get in contact, please do. We are open to that, and we're working with a couple of councils at the moment on different projects.
Lovely. Yeah, Alexandra just said absolutely, I'll be in touch. And I've put your emails in there, Jackie, in the chat, I think twice actually, and the aDoddle website link is in there too.
Brilliant.
I've just got one last one from Tim. He hasn't put a surname. I don't think he's put. Oh, Open Data Institute. He's put.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tim. From the Open Data Institute. Your work sounds great. I wondered if you had any connection with Open Referral UK, which is working to create an open standard for community services data. And he's put the link there as well.
We don't. So can I ask Amber, please, can you take a copy of that link? Because that's really important. We don't at the moment, and it's not something that I'd heard of, but we are very definitely into collaboration. We truly believe that different people have knowledge and expertise in different areas, and we shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. But what we did do is we saw where there was a niche and that wasn't being. So we've been doing this now, gosh, I mean, it's 11 years since we started doing the research. We launched the first map in January 2016, and we've got to where we are now. And I usually ask a question of how much do you think we do a poll, how much do you think we've spent so far to get to where we are? And up until at this time last year, we could say that we had done everything we'd done on a budget of less than £35,000. It's not that now, because we've had Kickstart trainees this year and we've had all of the grants for them coming in. So it's a much bigger budget now, but it's still under £100,000 for everything that we've done. And the business model side of things is starting to kick in. And we plough every bit back into this development. And the other thing is we're a community interest company, and we have a fixed asset lock, and we have a commitment that our surplus funds will actually be put back into communities via existing community trusts and foundations. So this isn't about anybody wanting to get rich or do something like that. Everything is about helping and supporting more connected communities and resilient communities. I hope that helps. Now, I know I haven't shared my screen today with showing you around aDoddle. What you see on the aDoddle website is the tip of the iceberg. And actually, all the Kickstart trainees we've got are really looking forward to 2 weeks' time when they're having a morning to get together without me to tell me everything they think we've not got right on the homepage, because they can tell us that we could be putting our information out there better. So if you have any feedback, feel free to give it to us, because I'm not scared of it. But I'd like to say a huge thank you. If there are no more questions, we're going to stop the recording now, but we're going to jump out to the virtual tables. I've got about 15 minutes available if anybody's got a question. So please do come and ask. And then sadly, I've got to go on to a meeting with one of our partner councils to do with their map at past. But I'd like to say a huge thank you. Please do get in touch and make suggestions, give us feedback. Even if it's something you don't like about it, tell us. I'm not scared. That's how we'll develop the best for people and communities. Huge thank you. Thank you, Amber, for being here. And I'd also like to say a huge thank you to digital leaders for the fact that they provided so much support this morning when we had that horrific mistake with the fact that the link was wrong. Well, the link wasn't wrong, the link was right, but we'd accidentally cancelled that event in our system. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to my amazing team that are also attending today, because I was in tears at 9:30 saying, I can't do this, how do I do it? And you've all pulled me together and you've all supported me today. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful to everybody. I'm going to jump out to the tables, and feel free to come and say hello and ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.